We're here because free speech is under attack. We're here because people are being convinced that socialism works. We're here because people are being judged guilty until proven innocent. We are fighting back with facts. This is not a safe zone, so buckle up, Buttercup. This is the raw, naked truth.
Blowback against EV mandates, Putin ratchets up his defiance of the West, and more. Welcome to the Raw Naked Truth. I'm your host, Eric Lopkin, and here's the news you need to know. A coalition of more than 130 lawmakers from both the House and Senate penned a letter to the White House on Thursday urging it to withdraw proposed tailpipe emissions regulations, which would force a transition to electric vehicles. The lawmakers, led by Representative Randy Feenstra and Senator Mike Crapo, argued that the regulations issued by the Environmental Protection Agency are a de facto EV mandate phase-out of traditional internal combustion engine vehicles. They addressed the letter to President Biden and Shalanda Young, the director of the Office of Management and Budget, which is expected to soon finalize the regulations. President Biden has made his intentions clear, Feenstra said in a statement. He would rather force American families, who are already facing financial hardship under the weight of inflation spurred by trillions in wasteful government spending, to buy electric vehicles to advance his Green New Deal agenda than allow folks to choose the best car or truck for their families, businesses, and farms at an affordable price. This misguided decision also strengthens China while weakening our economy because the critical materials needed to manufacture electric vehicles are primarily sourced from China, the Iowa lawmaker added. Russian President Vladimir Putin flew on a nuclear-capable strategic bomber on Thursday in a likely move to flaunt Russia's nuclear capabilities in defiance of the West. Moscow said Putin took a brief flight on a modernized Tu-160M bomber, codenamed Blackjacks by NATO. State media showed Putin, 71, taking off in the giant plane from a runway belonging to the factory in Kazan, which makes the supersonic aircraft. The plane landed less than an hour later, Russian news agency TASS reported. Moscow did not provide specifics of its flight path, which is considered a military secret, according to Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov. Meanwhile, the U.S. has privately warned Russia not to deploy a new nuclear-armed anti-satellite weapon, which it said would violate the Outer Space Treaty and jeopardize U.S. national security interests, according to U.S. officials. The rare outreach by top U.S. national security and intelligence officials is part of a diplomatic campaign that the Biden administration is mounting to head off the threat that also involves approaches to China, India, G7 nations, and other close allies that have interests in space and channels to Moscow. The warning to Moscow came after Representative Mike Turner, the Republican chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, announced an unspecified serious national security threat to the U.S. and requested that President Biden declassify information around it. The White House a day later confirmed Russia was pursuing an anti-satellite capability, but declined to offer specifics beyond saying that it wasn't an active threat to American safety. The number of Chinese migrants being encountered in a key sector of the southern border is exceeding that of Mexican nationals, a trend ongoing for years that has renewed national security concerns. Customs and Border Protection data shows that Chinese nationals are the second largest nationality encountered at the border in San Diego sector since the fiscal year began in October. There have been 21,000 Chinese nationals encountered, second only to Colombia with 28,000. Third is Mexican nationals with 18,700, followed by Brazil at 8,700 and Ecuador at 7,700. Other countries of origin include Turkey, Guinea, India, Guatemala, and Peru. Thursday night, Intuitive Machines' Odysseus lander became the first U.S. spacecraft to land on the moon since Apollo 17 in 1972, marking a huge step forward for lunar discovery, private space missions, and anyone gunning for Xenon 7-3 to become a reality. After teams on the ground fixed a last-minute navigation issue, the Houston-based company's lander made it to the southern pole region of the moon around 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Thursday, a week after it launched into space aboard a SpaceX rocket. Odysseus can now begin its journey to discover if there's water in the moon's craters. NASA remains laser-focused on getting humans back on the moon with its Artemis program. But with a budget 1/10 the size it was at the height of the Apollo program, the space agency is turning to the private sector to make Frank Sinatra's Fly Me to the Moon come true. IM's Odysseus mission is part of the NASA Commercial Lunar Payload Services, an initiative that partners the agency with private companies, allowing NASA to send data collecting instruments to the moon aboard private spacecraft while spending significantly less money than if it had to send its own. Google put its Gemini AI project in timeout amid diversity backlash. The tech giant announced it's pausing the AI tool's ability to generate images of people after users discovered it created historically inaccurate images, including Vikings, popes, and World War II era German soldiers of various races and genders. Outrage soon followed, with critics accusing the company of overcorrecting for potential racial biases in AI. Google apologized, saying Gemini missed the mark and promised to release an improved version soon. Google characterizes this as a hiccup, which comes as the company makes a series of updates to Gemini. Like its name, it was formerly Bard, in a bid to catch up to Microsoft and OpenAI in the AI arms race. That's the Raw Naked Truth. You can catch every episode of The Raw Naked Truth at xvadio.com, the Apple Podcasts app, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audible, Amazon Music, and other platforms that respect freedom of speech. We'll see you next time.